Truth meet consequences. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, if you thought New York was bad under Big Bird de Blasio, with the crime, the drugs, the filth, the anti-police insanity, you ain't seen nothing yet, people. Because after last night in the Democrat mayoral primary, a committed socialist, 33-year-old Zoran Mandani, he won big. Former rapper came out of nowhere, forced former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to concede in the four-way race. As of the last count, Mandani is up over Cuomo by 7 points.
It's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbor, and to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party.
Zoran's a Muslim, and his views are staunchly anti-Israel. If he wins the general election, Mandani would be the most left-wing person to ever serve as a mayor of any city in the United States. His views are far closer to communism than Clintonism. This guy makes AOC look like a moderate. He wants government-run grocery stores, plans to make public buses free, is pledging to freeze rent prices, and wants to borrow $70 billion for more affordable housing. Now, in the past, he's called to defund the police, to ban all guns, create safe injection sites for drug use, and decriminalize sex work. Oh, and end all cooperation with ICE. That's a given. He's even too much for the New York Times. Well, typical of Gen Xers, Mandani has replaced thinking with feeling, and he won big among the young vote. And he feels that New Yorkers should be guaranteed just all sorts of freebies. How to pay for this doesn't matter. As Ron DeSantis, who joins us later, posted a few days ago, just when you thought Palm Beach real estate couldn't go any higher. Yeah, people are going to move there. Well, how did we get here? Well, it didn't happen overnight. The prelude was long, but things began to really deteriorate when establishment Democrats essentially stopped working for the average American person and started working for Wall Street. Notice where Mamdani's support came from. According to an analysis in the New York Times, his voters came from mostly white, wealthy enclaves. And all over social media, you see young people celebrating. But he was less successful among black voters who are increasingly supporting Trump's economic and immigration views. Look, for more than 25 years, under the policies of globalization, the American middle class was slowly hollowed out and largely left behind. Salaries stagnated, their cost of living skyrocketed, and their job prospects teetered. For their part, Republicans cleaned out most of their failed old guard and elected Trump. But the Democrats didn't do their house cleaning. Since Bill Clinton left office, they've drifted. Obama was all swagger, no results. Biden, a total embarrassment. Kamala, even worse. And the only excitement came from the squad and the fights they were picking with Trump. In 7 short years, AOC became the closest thing to a thought leader in the Democrat Party. And instead of standing up to her silly socialism, though, big money Democrats like Michael Bloomberg were scared and silent. Wealthy liberals ignored the cancer developing in the Democrat body politic, the cancer of anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Semitism. They shrugged their shoulders and thought, this too shall pass. When law enforcement were berated and smeared, even attacked by some young people, those people who marinate and anti-law enforcement propaganda. Now, they refuse to pull their kids out of elite private schools that promote the nutty, we're living on stolen land claptrap. They treat George Floyd as a modern-day saint. They treat deportation as a crime against humanity. That, of course, they have to tell their kids, how racist our founders were. So, of course, these young people have given up on the American system, and they gravitate toward any shiny new object. In this case, Mamdani. He's just an anti-establishment avatar, though, isn't he? Trashing Trump, promising a bunch of free stuff, zero experience. But old-line Democrats are so lost and so weak, they simply cave. Poor old Chuck Schumer doesn't even try to stand up for New York capitalism or urge a more moderate path. He praised Mamdani for running an impressive campaign that connected with New Yorkers, but he stopped short, at least for now, of giving him an endorsement. He's in a total bind. But it's official. The Democrat establishment is already surrendering to socialism. A few of the old Clinton Democrats are worried. Larry Summers, though, today said he's profoundly alarmed about the future of the DNC in the country after Zoran's stated support for globalizing the Intifada and Trotskyite economic policies, Summers said. Well, Larry should have been profoundly alarmed years ago when his party began letting the inmates run the asylum, thank you very much. The radicalism was supported and nurtured for years. It was tolerated, even fed by the establishment Democrats, who were so preoccupied with fear-mongering about Trump and conservatives.
This question is about whether or not our democracy will endure, whether or not our democracy will survive. You would have a United States of America that would be unrecognizable to us, that would be one that we'd see more in Putin's Russia. They are happy with or comfortable with the notion of autocracy, of dictatorship.
What the president is doing is once again patently false. It's morally wrong. And yes, it is racist.
Thanks, Michelle. Straight from Martha's Vineyard. Now, as they were all suffering from TDS, their party was turning into a far-left laboratory run by socialists, Marxists, and communists. Add to this the open border, uncontrolled immigration, hundreds of thousands allowed through abused refugee admissions. And the country itself starts to get remade, doesn't it? Stephen Miller hit the nail on the head in a post on X last night, writing in part that unchecked migration fundamentally remade New York City, the electorate there. Democrats changed politics by changing voters. That's how you turn a city that defined our dominance, into what it is now. Now, what's increasingly obvious, folks, if you want to preserve America as we've known it, you need to get as far away from today's Democrats as possible. If Schumer ends up surrendering to the socialists, the rest of the Democrats are on their way to surrendering as well. So unless rich New Yorkers band together, donate a lot of money, and create a groundswell for a viable alternative to Mandani, another great American city is going to swirl down the drain. And when it does, the rest of us should not be on the hook to bail it out. This is their decision. This is their choice. And that's the angle.
Party's over. Dad's home.
They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong language every once in a while.
Trump ended the 12-day war, and now Europe's calling him Daddy. And Daddy likes it.
Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you Daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No? He did it very affectionately. Daddy, you're my daddy.
The media said Daddy was going to leave the family. But look at him front and center in the family photo. They said he was going to abandon NATO, but America first doesn't mean America alone. And now the Europeans can't stop saying, thank you, Daddy.
You are a man of strength, but you're also a man of peace. And the fact that you are now also successful in getting this ceasefire done between Israel and Iran, I really want to commend you for that.
Thank you very much.
And I think this is important for the whole world. Then on spending, it's absolutely true. I want to state here, without President Trump, this would not have happened.
Europe's thanking Trump for making them spend more money. Happy wife, happy life. But Trump, like a gentleman, says it's all about the guys in the cockpit.
The pilots did an unbelievable job like nobody's ever seen. They hit pay dirt. You see where I guess you probably look, they call it the wound. You see where the wound is on the earth. And 3 of them right next to each other. Perfect. And they should be admired and respected for what they did. And the fake news, in order to try and hit me, the fake news made them look bad. But now they look really good again.
A 37-hour flight, 13,000 miles above the ground, and they hit a target the size of a washing machine. And instead of lining up interviews with these heroes, CNN's saying they missed and the bombs were duds. Have you ever heard of an American bomb that didn't work? If that bomb is American-made, it's going off. We dropped these bunker busters into the ventilation shaft. These suckers slid down the shaft untouched and detonated in the middle of the lab. We basically slid a stick of dynamite down a chimney, and the media is claiming the living room's still intact.
This was an unbelievable hit by genius pilots and genius people in the military, and they're not being given credit for it because we have scum that's in this group, and not all of you are. You had some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York Times is scum. They're bad people. They're sick. And what they've done is they're trying to make this unbelievable victory into something less. The original word that I use, I guess it got us in trouble because it's a strong word. It was obliteration.
Rubio says it's like we sank a dozen full-court shots in a row.
Here's a fact. The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility. We can't even find where it is, where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone.
It's wiped out.
It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in 2 places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape.
After Operation Midnight Hammer, we thought we'd have to be defending ourselves against the Iranian attacks. But instead, we're defending ourselves against CNN attacks.
The instinct of CNN, the instinct of the New York Times is to try to find a way to spin it for their own political reasons, to try to hurt President Trump or our country. They don't care what the troops think. They don't care what the world thinks. They want to spin it to try to make him look bad based on a leak. All of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000-pound bombs is buried under a mountain, devastated and obliterated. So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated.
We basically threw grenades into a rabbit hole, and CNN is saying there wasn't any damage because they can't see underground. Tulsi Gabbard says this: new intelligence confirms what POTUS has stated numerous times. Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed. If the Iranians chose to rebuild, it would likely take years to do. The CIA and the International Energy Agency both say we landed knockout strikes, and it would take the regime years to rebuild. And Israeli intelligence, who kind of have Iran wired, say bullseye. Now, if the bombs didn't work, don't you think Netanyahu would be on the phone with Trump begging the B-2s to circle back around? Israel already has spies combing through the rubble.
Israel's going to be telling us very soon because Bibi is going to have people involved in that whole situation. We hear it was obliteration. It was a virtual obliteration. When you take a look at the ground above, don't forget, the flame is all underground. But everything above, if you look at the before and the after picture, everything above is burned black. The trees, everything. I believe it was total obliteration. I believe they didn't have a chance to get anything out because we acted fast.
You can tell there was a uranium fire inside the site because the top of the mountain changed color after the blasts. The same people who were saying the bunker busters didn't blow up are the ones who said Trump was a Russian agent. COVID didn't come from a lab, and Hunter's laptop was fake. But the reporter who keeps getting it wrong keeps getting promoted. See what CNN's business model is? When you're wrong, you get a raise. Trump says Natasha Bertrand should be fired and thrown out of the building like a dog. But even if Trump thinks you're a dog, he'll still answer your question.
Do we have any questions, please? Wow. That's a lot of questions. Who's a nice person? Oh, you're not a nice person, but I'll let you ask one. Go ahead. What's he going to ask? He is not nice at all. I know him well.
Whichever traitor in the Pentagon leaked this half-baked, day-old, flimsy assessment based on a single satellite photo, Rubio's ready to smoke him out.
These leakers are professional stabbers. That's what they are. They go out and they read this stuff, and then they tell you what it says against the law, but they characterize it for you in a way that's absolutely false. There's no way Iran comes to the table if somehow nothing had happened. This was complete and total obliteration. They're in bad shape.
Now Cash and Bonino have launched a mole hunt.
I am told by the FBI the leak already is being investigated, and it absolutely should be, because this was a top secret intelligence analysis that very few people in the United States government had access to see.
If you stab daddy in the back, you're getting more than a spanking. The punishment for treason? Death penalty. Now, you don't leak faulty intel during a war that undermines American military capabilities. Unlike the Supreme Court leaker, we better find this guy. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning, Secretary Hegseth and top military brass are holding a press conference. Fox will have it live. The Ayatollah has been missing for a week. He went underground and hasn't been heard from since. The ceasefire is still holding, and Trump's teasing negotiations to lock in a truce. The question is, who's daddy going to negotiate with?
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, a major triumph for the USA in Europe as NATO members hail President Trump's leadership. And everyone but Spain, they agreed to pay their fair share to NATO. A huge win for President Trump. There is no doubt at all whatsoever who the leader of the free world is tonight. Now, meanwhile, back at home, big trouble for America's biggest city. We will show you how Donald Trump responded to the communist lunatic that the Democrats nominated to run New York City as the radical Democratic Party lurches even farther to the left. Plus, the city's Republican mayoral candidate, Curtis Sliwa, who now has a real shot in the general election. Due to a crowded field of liberals and Democrats and radicals, he will weigh in. And later, Joy Reid thinks there is one person, who can save the Democratic Party. Her name, Jasmine Crockett. Take a look.
Who cares what the party label is? Give me an effective fighter. If Jasmine Crockett is the most effective fighter, give me Jasmine Crockett. Mm-hmm. And I really don't care what you have to move around or who you have to disappoint in order to give me her. Just give me her, because we need a leader.
I agree with Joy Reid. Jasmine Crockett for president. We'll have much more of the sad state of affairs with the Democratic Party. That's coming up. But first, what a difference a new year, a new president can make. Wow. Just think, this was our sad reality less than 12 months ago. Remember that moment? NATO, let me go take a walk. Lost, dazed, confused, confounded. In Europe, Joe Biden wandering off while European leaders awkwardly, come on back, Joe, over here. Yeah, come back to the fold, Joe. We got to take a picture. Anyway, thanks to President Trump, American leadership is back in a big, big way. Now, after Trump took a decisive action to obliterate Iran's nuclear program and then negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Iran after only 12 days at war, NATO's General Secretary or Secretary General called him a man of strength, a man of peace. But he also made headlines today for referring, this cracked me up, to our president as daddy. Take a look.
They fought like hell, and then they said, let's stop. And they're going to build themselves. And I really see it as sticking. I mean, we may do papers on it, Marco. Maybe we're going to do papers. I don't even know if you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easy to stop them.
And then daddy has to sometimes use strong language to
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
All right. Now, in case you were wondering, here is how President Trump responded to the new title after being asked a question by Sky News. And watch Secretary of State Marco Rubio in the background laughing hysterically. Take a look.
Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No? He did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
That is hilarious. Anyway, maybe, just maybe, a father figure is exactly what NATO needed. The huge takeaway, NATO members now have finally agreed to pay their fair share, increase their defense spending to 5% of their GDP. That more than doubles their previous requirement. Why? All because all of you elected Donald Trump. He insisted on peace through strength. He insisted now our allies adopt the Trump doctrine. Unfortunately, there is one country that doesn't want to play ball, at least not yet. And now Donald Trump is vowing to respond with a little bit of tough love. Take a look.
Oh, I think Spain's terrible what they've done. No, I do. They're the only country that won't pay the full up. They want to stay at 2%. I think it's terrible. And, you know, they're doing very well. The economy is very well. And that economy could be blown right out of the water with something bad happening. You know, Spain is the only country that, are you from Spain?
Yeah.
Good, congratulations. You're the only country that is not paying. I don't know what the problem is. I think it's too bad. So we'll make it up. You know what we're going to do? We're negotiating with Spain on a trade deal. We're going to make them pay twice as much. And I'm actually serious about that.
It really is nobody else like him. Anyway, at the end of the day, this is about peace through strength and keeping the world safer. President Trump is now forcing Europe to grow a backbone, stand up for themselves, and President Trump knows that weakness will invite aggression from countries like China, Russia, Iran. Now, this president just wants the dying to stop. Now, listen to his comments to a reporter whose husband is serving in the Ukrainian army. Take a listen to this. Watch this.
BBC News Ukrainian. I would
Where are
like
you
to
from?
ask you, I'm from Ukraine.
Oh.
So my question to you is whether or not the U.S. is ready to sell anti-air missile systems Patriot to Ukraine. We know that Russia has been pounding Ukraine really heavily right now.
Are you living yourself now in Ukraine?
My husband is there.
Wow.
And
I can see you're very, you know, it's amazing.
And me with the kids, I'm in Warsaw actually, because he wanted me to be.
Is your husband a soldier? No?
He's
there now?
Yeah.
Wow. That's rough stuff, right? That's tough. And you're living here?
In Warsaw.
And you're a reporter?
I am.
Good. So let me just tell you, they do want to have the missiles, okay, as they call them, the Patriots. And we're going to see if we can make some available.
Now, can you believe Democrats, the state-run legacy media mob, tried to smear President Trump as some kind of warmonger? Nothing, as we all can see every day, can be further from the truth. Nobody, no world leader is putting more effort, no world leader in modern history has put more effort into bringing about peace around the globe than President Donald J. Trump. Unfortunately, the truth doesn't really matter to the raging lunatics on the left. They will say they will do anything to disparage the president. They wanted to impeach him after taking out the nuclear sites of the #1 state sponsor of terror. That kind of tells you a lot. Just take a look at the latest bogus so-called reporting surrounding the U.S. strike on Iran's nuclear sites. A fake news CNN reporter named Natasha Bertrand now triumphantly claims that the president's strikes did not obliterate Iran's nuclear sites at all. Now, keep in mind, this is the very same reporter who confidently authored this untrue story in 2020 with the headline, "Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinformation. Dozens of former intel officials say." The same reporter also somehow believed that actual Russian disinformation in the Hillary Clinton bought and paid for dirty Russian dossier was totally legit. The op-ed in the Washington Post accused her of bootstrapping the dossier into an MSDNC gig. In 2018, Natasha even suggested that Putin was having buyer's remorse for helping Donald Trump win the election. Can't make it up. She still has a job. What a shock. Take a look.
Well, I think you hear a lot of talk about Russia having buyer's remorse, about how they kind of regret helping to elect Donald Trump because Donald Trump really has not been the kind of partner that they could have wanted or hoped for. But you also have to remember that Donald Trump has not chosen to implement sanctions. He has not exactly been a hypercritical, leader on the world stage of Russia. So in that sense, Russia kind of lucked out. But if you take, for example, the Steele dossier at kind of face value, or you take that as any kind of guide, there was a lot of internal dissent within the Russian government about whether or not and to what extent the Russians should interfere in the U.S. election and coordinate with Donald Trump. And there were some that were saying that it was too ambitious. They were going to get caught. It was just not a good idea. And apparently, Putin was very, very set on this project.
Now, this anti-Trump hack has zero credibility, and so do her Trump-hating sources. In a statement today, the CIA debunked Bertrand's reporting, quote, a body of credible intelligence indicates that Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by the recent targeted strikes. This includes new intelligence from a historically reliable and accurate source that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of many years. Meanwhile, over on Truth Social, President Trump called for Natasha to be fired from fake news CNN. They wonder why they're called fake news. Anyway, quote, I watched her for 3 days doing fake news. She should be immediately reprimanded and then thrown out like a dog. She lied on the laptop from hell story, and now she lied on the nuclear site story, attempting to destroy our Patriot pilots by making them look bad when in fact they did a great job and hit pay dirt. Total obliteration. Not only did President Trump eliminate the nuclear threat from Iran and negotiate a ceasefire in the region, but he also galvanized his base. Look at this. A whopping 90% of Trump voters approve of his strikes on Iran. But it's not just his base. We have new polls out from Robert Cahaly in Trafalgar and Matt Towery, Insider Advantage. We'll get an update from them in a minute. A large majority of the American people approve of Donald Trump's actions in the Middle East. And, of course, the president had a very strong partner in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But according to President Trump, Netanyahu, he continues to face his own witch hunt in Israel and has been summoned to court on Monday. Well, President Trump, he's rightly mad, and he is now calling on Israel to cancel the trial while praising the prime minister. Quote, he said, Bibi and I just went through hell together fighting a very tough and brilliant longtime enemy of Israel, Iran. And Bibi could not have been better, sharper, or stronger in his love for the incredible Holy Land. Anybody else would have suffered losses, embarrassment, and chaos. Trump continued, it was the United States of America that saved Israel, and now it is going to be the United States of America that saves Bibi Netanyahu. This travesty of justice cannot be allowed. And I will echo those statements. How ungrateful it would be for the people of Israel, after all the prime minister did, after all that President Trump did, to take away the biggest existential threat and a nuclear-armed Iran, to turn around the next week and put your prime minister, a hero, on trial? That is madness beyond what Donald Trump went through here, and it was madness here. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.